Number one way that you can get out of KiwiSaver, we all know about it, is when you turn the age of 65 and you're retiring. There are two caveats. One, if you locked it in and you're between the ages of 60 and 64 in 2019 before July 1st, you would have been locked in for 5 years. They just want that peace of mind that you're locked in for that period of time. But now, since April 2020, that's changed, so you can access the funds, but you're just not entitled to the employer and government contribution if you want to stop it before the 5 years up. So you can get it. There's hope there. And how does it actually work? So it's not too complicated, it is annoying, but if you want to access the money, there's 3 types installments. So you could get a lump sum at some point now and then in the future, or you could get it all out now, or you could do a regular withdrawal. If you had an advisor, we would say, hey, use a managed fund, consolidate it, and then take out 6% a year, and it'll probably last 25 to 30 years if it's in a balanced portfolio. If you don't have a managed fund, you just have KiwiSaver, same principle applies. Leave it in there, let it compound over time while also taking out a bit of money. So then you're protecting the purchasing power of your money while you do it, and you can just set up a regular, like an income, tax paid, and enjoy life. The second most common way that people would access the KiwiSaver is to buy their first home. So there's a few things that you may not know about when you're going to buy your first home that are quite useful. It's done in conjunction with KiwiSaver provider. So you go to them, you get the form, you follow the checklist, and you get it done. And you can go to Kāinga Ora. Kāinga Ora is meant to help with the whole housing issue, and they've got a few cool things that you can use in conjunction with your KiwiSaver if you qualify. Which one is the first home grant? You can get a bit of money for you and your partner. The other one is first home loan, so they can give you a bit of help in terms of getting a loan that maybe you're struggling for a deposit. Or first home partnership, which essentially it's a shared property agreement with the government. They help you get into a house when you might not have been able to, and essentially you got 15 years to buy them out, and you got to pay the market value increase in the property that you own. Another interesting caveat that people don't know about is, sure, you can't use your Australian super. You can transfer it from Australian super to KiwiSaver, but you can't use it for your first home, but you can use the growth of that Australian super in your KiwiSaver. Another one that you might want to know about is that you can use it even though you might have used it before. Essentially, you just got to tick the box of someone that's buying their first home. So kind of essentially financially you're struggling and you can prove it, you get the right paperwork, then you can potentially use it again. Now, the third most common way that people would access the KiwiSaver is using serious financial hardship. You're struggling to cover your basic necessities in life, a mortgage provider's coming after you, and you're struggling to fund that debt. You got special needs or a dependent with special needs and you needed to help them, or someone with a serious illness that's dependent, someone that's dependent that's you have to pay for their funeral. There's a few different ways that you can use it. The thing to be mindful of is you got to prove that you need it, and you're not necessarily going to get all the money. You might just get an agreed amount to cover your expenses for a period of time, and the decision isn't actually made by the KiwiSaver provider. It's made by their supervisor. So a supervisor essentially is a custodial trustee. It's separate from the KiwiSaver. They look after your best interests. There's common ones that look after a majority of providers. But the process is you prove that you're struggling, send it off to the provider, they get it approved by the supervisor, and then they pay out a bit to help you out. Now, the fourth reason is for a serious health condition. Essentially, you permanently aren't able to work or you're at risk of death. And then the second one is if you've got life-shortening congenital issues, which essentially means that you have a condition that's impairing your ability to reach 65 potentially, and you had it since birth. So they have different criteria, but that's basically the gist is you got to prove that you're in a tough spot, and you get a doctor and you get a JP to confirm your identity, the issue, and you get a specialist report to confirm, and then you're able to access the funds. Fifth way is if you permanently migrate overseas. So if you go to Australia, you can keep your KiwiSaver here, you can keep your Australian super if you want, keep them separate, or you can transfer your KiwiSaver over to the Australian super. But basically, you have to be permanently migrated overseas for at least a year, and then from there you can have it transferred directly to your account, or you can have it transferred to another provider. But with Australia, if you're living there, then you can't just transfer it back to your bank account. And the process is essentially confirming who you are, your address, where you're living, that you moved, making a statutory declaration of saying, hey, I've permanently migrated, here's an official person that's confirming that, and then voila, bit of money. Or you're transferring it to a qualifying provider, and then that way you can keep it compounding over time for retirement. Sixth reason that you can access your KiwiSaver would be if someone died. There's two main ways that you can access it. If it's under $15,000 or if it's over $15,000, they have a different criteria. If it's over, it goes to the estate, whatever the will says, that's how it's administered. If it's under $15,000 and it's been shown that you haven't gotten probate or letters of administration, then potentially it can be paid out and it has a certain order of like spouse, kids, and then it's decided in that way. And the final way that you can access your KiwiSaver is sort of all merged into one, but it's three. So it's bankruptcy, relationship property, or if you have to pay something for some foreign superannuation. So first one, bankruptcy. Just be mindful if there's debtors coming after you. KiwiSaver is treated as separate, so you don't necessarily have to take it out, and just approach an insolvency lawyer or someone that's knowledgeable in this field just to see what your rights and obligations are around the debt. Now the second one is relationship property. In certain instances, if there's a breakup, KiwiSaver is included in relationship property, so you might need to access it to split it off. And the final piece is, let's say you've transferred a foreign superannuation. One, there's tax obligations, or there's a foreign student loan. You can access some of the funds to be able to pay that. That is what you need to do if you want to withdraw your KiwiSaver. As I say, it's one of the best investments of our generation, so think twice about it. But yeah, I hope that was useful. And if you've got any questions or another topic you'd like me to do, hit me up at ryan@oneplan.co.nz, or just search for Ryan J. Melton anywhere on the web, and just send me a message on whatever platform makes sense to you. Thank you.